It's January 12th, 2017. It's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins, the editor at WorthPoint.com. And Harry, how are you doing tonight?
Well, you know what? We are a little bit of a day late, but you've not been feeling well. And these are kind of informal chats you and I do. So we do our best to make sure they're on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. But if not, when the next one it will be that week is a mystery. And so, but the thing about it is people can always go up to YouTube and find us, right? They can go to the WorthPoint website, read the newsletter, and we make note of when the chats occur in there.
That's right. We're available many different sources.
We are, and
you know, website, the newsletter, the YouTube channel.
But these chats are evergreens. I mean, I don't know if you know that term in recording.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, and which means that what we're talking about here isn't time sensitive necessarily. Now, occasionally we'll talk about some time sensitive stuff, but really what we talk about is really good for an exceedingly long time. And if nothing else, it gives you a chance to reflect on what we're talking about, which brings me around to getting started talking. Well, you know, I told you I'm working on a 3-part column series called The Top 10 Changes in the Trade Over the Last 10 Years, right? Right.
No, we published the first one on WorthPoint the other day.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Yes. Okay. And there's 2 more coming.
Yeah.
I just finished the 3rd one. This and they you know, they're kind of like David Letterman's top 10 list. We start at the bottom and go to the top. So you saw, let's see, you saw initially number 10, 9, and 8. Number 10 was the decreasing prestige associated with owning antiques and collectibles. Number 9 was slow and painful recovery from the 2008-2009 recession. And number 8, the end of an era, the passing of the 20th century traditional collector, which I found out that the 10 things I had to talk about this year were pretty morbid. But and sometimes I think people think, well, hey, you know what? We don't like listening to you never say anything that's good news. Well, we'd be delighted to report good news if we saw a lot of it. I mean, is there good news? The good news, the antiques and collectibles trade isn't going anywhere. Is it bad news that the antiques and collectibles trade is changing? I don't think so, personally. But anyway, as I was working on one of the upcoming things, particularly my comments about the digital age, it occurred to me that what the digital age attacks is walk-in business. Now, I have to tell you, I've been a little bit distressed about the news after the holiday season. First of all, supposedly it was a great season. Sales were up. But the problem was there were more sales up on the internet than there were in the fixed stores. And as you know, since the Christmas holidays, Macy's is closing stores, Sears is closing stores, and the women's store, I think it was the Limited, shut its stores overnight.
Right.
250 stores.
Kmart is closing a lot of their stores too.
Kmart is closing a lot of their stores too. And but what struck me interesting was that the Limited is going online to sell off its excess merchandise and maybe go into an online business. Okay?
Yes.
Because online sales, I forget what they represented this season, but they were up significantly again. Well, if you stop to think about it, who's hardest hit by the digital age? Online stores, or excuse me, not online stores, walk-in stores,
brick
right?
And mortar, right.
Brick and mortar stores. But wait a minute, we're a brick and mortar business. Stop and think about it. You have to walk into a flea market, right?
Yes.
You have to walk into an antique shop. You have to walk into an antique mall, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people walk into auctions. Now, clearly auctions, the auction community is the one community that's working with the digital age and trying real hard to advance with it. But, you know, whether it's a shop, a show, a mall, a flea market, or whatever, the venue, you have to walk into it. And the question is it possible? Now, this is long-term projection stuff, right? Is it possible to envision an antiques and collectibles trade with no walk-in business? And that is a frightening thought. Yet, on the other hand, if the antiques and collectibles trade is going to adjust to the millennials and adjust to the generation after the millennials that is digitally oriented, okay, we better find a way to do it. Because if we don't, I'm not sure what our future really is. I mean, will there always be antique shows? Yep. Will there always be flea markets? Sure. Will there always be shops? Maybe, maybe not. Will there always be shows? You know what? Even there, the question is maybe, maybe not. I had an interesting chat with, remember last week we got an email from one of our WorthPoint listeners or viewers saying that the cost to do the high-end shows has gotten so expensive she can't afford it anymore.
Right. Yeah,
well, the thing,
we did talk about that.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Well, the thing about it is that when the cost is prohibitive to do those shows, what's left but online? Right now, let's look at the online alternatives. Okay. One, eBay. That's
right.
an alternative. But eBay online as a way of selling antiques and collectibles, is no longer single seller friendly. It's only super sellers and bigger concerns friendly. It's more now a buy it now site than it is a send it up the auction site. I mean, a lot of people still think of eBay as an auction site, and theoretically there's still auctions on eBay. But the reality of it is eBay is primarily a direct sales site. Okay? Now, eBay tried to set up individual storefronts for people, and there are some that have been successful with eBay, but not a lot. Not a lot.
Well, my eBay store is successful for what it is. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of things in it.
Well, Will is putting a lot of effort in the fact of selling off his whole thing. He's hired someone to sell it all on eBay.
Well, he has, but he also had to scale that back. It turns out, and he wrote a story about this. I don't know if you saw it. He had a porcelain mug that was how do you say this? Sevres, the French.
Sèvres.
How do you say it?
Sèvres, S-E-V-E-S. Sèvres, yeah.
Sèvres mug.
French porcelain.
Yeah, it was a Sèvres mug that was worth about $1,500, but the person who put it up didn't do it right and misspelled Sèvres, and it sold for like $8.50.
Yes, well, the other thing too, not in defense of the $8.50, but also the fact that and there it is. It's making that work. You have to know what the heck you're selling and get it spelt right. Okay. But at the same time, speaking of that, Sev is next to Meissen is the most heavily duplicated mark out there. All right.
Yes.
And so who knows? Who knows? I mean, the question is if you hire somebody to sell your stuff on eBay, all they can put up there is what you tell them. Hopefully they'll spell it right.
Right, and that's why Will scaled back and decided he's got to do it himself because he knows the items.
But Will doesn't have the time to do it himself.
Well, that's also true. So we've got to.
And that's I look at I have the same dilemma Will does in terms of dispensing of my stuff. I have all this stuff here. I'm going to catalog it. Okay, that's fine. But that's only the first step. To sell on eBay, you have to photograph it. You have to track the bids. You have to collect the money. You have to ship it. You have to go through all that stuff, right?
Yes.
I might have time to catalog it. I have time to do the rest. Okay? So the question is, how do you dispense with it? Okay, so forget eBay aside. Okay, the auction community has benefited from the digital age through allowing for online bidding, right? And that, I must say, has been very successful, except for the following. First of all, it's delayed payment to the consigners because till a person wins the object online and then pays for it online, then gets shipped, then they have to prove it, and then the consignor gets paid. Consigners aren't getting paid in 15 and 20 days. They're getting paid in 30 and 45 days and sometimes even 90 days. Furthermore, in online sales, a fair percentage, over 10%, maybe even over 20% of the people that bid online never pay for the stuff. I mean, there are pluses and minuses with that. Now, the nice thing about online sales for the auction community is that it's driven up bidding by at least 3 or 4 bids, and that's significant, especially if you're dealing with 100 or an object over $100 where the bidding is at $25, or an object over 500 where the bidding is at 25 or $50, right? You do a 5 bid jump, that's $250 more. So the auction community on the whole has done very well, all right, with that. Now, there are storefronts, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, the Internet Antique Shop is one, Ruby Lane is another, right?
Right.
Go Antiques, I it used to be part of WorthPoint. I have no idea what happened to it these days. I'm assuming it's still around. But
yeah, WorthPoint sold it to Gemmer, and Gemmer's running it now.
But the thing about it is that those sites have not grown. There's Ruby Lane and TS are stable, but they're not growing. What's much more important is they're not getting competitors. So the next alternative is that people say, okay, I'm going to create my own website and I'm going to sell that through that, right? Well, yeah. There are so many websites out there. How do people find you?
Yeah, and that's a problem to get.
Huge problem. And then
have your own little website. How are people going to find you? If you don't,
and then Instagram was supposed to be a solution, but that hasn't proven to be the big solution that everybody thought it would be. And so, I mean, there's a lot. The digital age is fine, but the digital age comes with an enormous cost, and one of which is isolation. It's becoming so specialized. Now you get a website, which you probably never visited, but they call it brickpicker.com, BRICKPICKER.com, right?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Right. Now, guess what? Collectible product, top baby boomer collectible product is sold on brickpicker.com.
I have no idea. What does Brickpicker sell?
Lego stuff. Okay? And they have this thing on there. They have, I don't know, several thousand people, and they claim they have over $11 million worth of value in the collections of the people that deal in their site. Well, ho, 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 said Santa Claus, and he's a myth too. But nevertheless, the point is that these individual sites are getting to be so specialized that instead of having a general collected community anymore, what we have are isolated pockets of people, almost back like we were in the old days, right?
Yeah.
Now, WorthPoint has done a great job in the digital age by getting pricing up there, and now you're doing marks, right? You're expanding the ability to use WorthPoint.
Right. The maps.
But WorthPoint was built on the foundation and the remains of many that came before you that didn't succeed, right? So far, online appraisal sites have been a bust, right? And antique malls that tried to sell online haven't worked. That hasn't worked for them either. The other area that seems to be starting to make sense in the digital age is, again, in the estate sale community. Some auction companies and some estate sale companies now are going into a home, photographing everything, selling it online, and making the people come to the home to pick it up. Now, I'll tell you what, it may be convenient for the auction company, but it sure isn't good for the seller. Because, man, when you don't have bidders out there competing with each other, it's just going to be a mess. And how, so let's suppose 50 auction companies and estate sale companies did this a week. How the devil are you ever going to find any of this stuff as a collector or whatever? How will you ever do it? I mean,
unless the companies are really good at identifying what they have and tagging it in such a way that when you search the internet and it pops, no one's going to know what you've got unless they randomly stumble upon it.
Well, look, and this is the whole point about the digital age. The antiques and collectible community, because it's so individually based, is never going to be able to take a unified approach to the digital age. It's going to be hit and miss. But the problem is, the longer we wait, the longer the industry waits to find ways to deal with the digital age, the further and further and further behind we're going to become. Seriously. And we talked earlier in last year about the many antique shows that are closing. And the fact that many of them are not even half their former size because dealers are getting old and dying and they don't want to do it. Okay? I mean, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned. Do I think a solution will be found? Do I think there are solutions? Probably. But boy, oh boy, I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what they are. Maybe some of our viewers have some thoughts on this matter. We'd like to hear from them, which allows you to put that screen up, which says, if you'd like to send us your comments about what we talk about here on WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker, or you want to send us a picture about something you have in your collection or whatever, our email address is community@worthpoint.com. Speaking of digital age, you can't put it in the mail, gang. You got to use our email address, community@worthpoint.com. If it's about an object, make sure you attach a lot of photographs. Give us all the information about how you acquired it. If you bought it, what did you pay for it? Size, markings, you name it, and we'll go from there. Okay? So, community@worthpoint.com. We want to hear from you. We know people are, well, okay. We can go up after a week or two of these interviews being up on YouTube, and we know that anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred people watch them. So, are you all sitting there assuming that everything I say is accurate and you don't want to question me?
Well, we had somebody.
Well, it is accurate, and they shouldn't question me. I'll tell you that right now. But no.
No, don't question you. Well, we had somebody last week remind you that you forgot something in one of your
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And we appreciate that. Now, Speaking of objects, however, we got a fun object in this week, or objects. A picture of a military unit, right?
Yes, let me find it.
Actually, two pictures, actually. I mean, of the same thing. But what's interesting is the story behind this. And I'm really big on this. Now, this came from one of our members out in Richmond, California. And it says, attached, this is the email, attached are photographs of two Goldbeck panoramic photos that came in a box, a lot of photos, I purchased at an Asian antique store a few years ago for about $30, which was an average of about $2 to $3 a photo. From research, I learned who Eugene Omar Goldbeck was. We'll talk about him in a minute. And that WorthPoint has a wide range of stuff and prices. Now, from the uniform patches, these are students at Officers Candidate School. The instructors in the front are wearing 6 Army patches on their shoulders. I called the Goldbeck company, by the way, which is still in business, and they said they've been able to research the photo by subject, but they do not have records of the numbers. They did often say that the numbers were month, date, year, and format. So if it says 10/11/44, it may mean October 11th, 44, and that was true. And there you could see. Oh, there you got it, right? You got the number up there, right?
Right.
So the question is, before we start talking about the value of these things, this is a fascinating fellow. He Goldbeck was a photographer. The firm is still in business. It's run by the grandson these days, still located initially in San Antonio, Texas. But he was the developer of, for want of a better term, yard-long pictures. Now, this particular picture, these two pictures happen to measure 35 inches long, and he did some that measured into the 50 inches. But anyway, he had I had a chance to look up his history, and his history is absolutely fascinating. Let me pull up my cheat sheets here, so I sound like a guy on the Antique Roadshow instead of some jerk. Which, by the way, they all have. Yeah, there you can see the Army patches and stuff where he figured it out. Anyway, they worked out of San Antonio, and he's famous for not just panoramic views of the military, although he was very famous for military photographs. He's also famous for panoramic views of sports teams and geographic areas and so forth. He was born in San Antonio in 1892, starting making things as a kid. In 1901, he took a picture of President McKinley when he came to San Antonio. Now, he also got linked in with the Army Signal Corps, and he died in 1986. But he had a special camera called a circuit camera, CIRKUT, which took photographs of enormous size. And the thing about it is that he was famous for getting all the faces in focus, all right? And then his son took over the business, and eventually the grandson has taken over the business. He had several patents on the camera that he used. His most famous group shot included 21,000 men arranged in U.S. Air Force insignia. I don't know, have you ever seen these photographs? This guy would build 200-foot tall towers and get his camera up there and shoot down, and he would have them make the shapes of American eagles and crest, and one was a picture of Lincoln. Have you ever seen those?
I don't know if I've seen anything like that.
Oh, yes, and they're very collectible. But anyway, as it turns out, this guy's work is very collectible. So let's go to WorthPoint and see what we have here. And let's look at some of the examples, not the military stuff initially, but there is one right there of the 3rd annual Bathing Girl Review. Is that right?
That's right. In Galveston, Texas, 1922.
And one of the keys to these photographs is whether he signed them or not, right?
Right.
He signed this one. And what was the price? $2,260.
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell you anything, but compared to modern bathing beauties, it's not the beauty of the women here that are selling this photograph, right?
No. I think it's the
yes, it's all about this guy.
The guy.
Anyway, come out of that one there. But we did find one he didn't sign that sold for much less a little bit later on. But I want you to go to one of the panoramic views that he did there. What's that one there in the first row there? It looked like a mountain in the background.
Oh, well, that's the pyramids.
Oh, the pyramids, right. Yes, he went all around the world with his camera doing this stuff. That sold for $125, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so his geographic ones do very well. But you know what you're not seeing is anything selling much below $100, actually.
Right. So here's what is this?
Bird's eye view of Honolulu, $127.50. Look at that. Well, let's go to the military ones now.
Okay.
Now, I call these yard lawn pictures, but in fact, some of them are quite large, much larger. But anyway, look, on the left there is original. Well, that's Fort Clark, Texas. Now that one only brought $87.
But this was a 60-inch photograph.
Right, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess people from Fort Clark, Texas, don't care that much because what sells those other ones are the units, the people in there. Right?
Yeah.
But and he did military, he did officer training schools, he did all kinds of. Here's one of an army barrack, World War II, $183, right?
Yes. And
that's a huge number of people in that one, right? That one is 31.5 inches long by 10. All right. Yep. And what have you. Now, the fact that the guy that bought this picture did all the homework and figured out how the unit was and everything else, I think that adds value. You know, for an average price of $2 a piece, or $3, let's be generous and say $3 a piece, okay? He is looking, I think, at $100.50 to $175 for each of the two photos. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're gonna do
those panoramics of.
You know what you should do is you should do it. Let's try an internet search of Goldbeck panoramic eagle or Goldbeck panoramic panoramic U.S. shield or something like that. But he did it with naval personnel. I mean, I'm all right. Let's pull some. See, those are the panoramic ones. Don't put panoramic in it. Don't put panoramic in it. Just put Goldbeck photo. I'd love to have you see some of these other ones here, because I've seen them.
Well, this one's not.
Yeah, that's not going to help us here. We got to ask the right question. Goldbeck eagle photo. Try that. No, wait, there it is. There it is on the first one on the left. I know. On the left, at the top left. Look at that. Isn't that the eagle made up of men or not? No.
It's too small to tell.
All right, then go to the shield because that's not too small to tell. On the right.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right. Let's. Whoops.
That's all right. No, that's all right. That's good. You had a whole bunch of them there. Go back. Go back.
Okay, so you can tell.
Yes, you can. Hawaiian Division Schofield Barracks. Look at that. He sat up on that 200-foot high thing and got him to pose like that. Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
Now, but then you had a Statue of Liberty one too, right?
That one was also too small to see.
No, I could see it.
This one?
Yeah. You can't blow that up?
That's as big as it gets.
Yeah, but that's also people too.
I'm sure it is.
I mean, he was so blooming creative. I mean, I have to tell you, oh, look at that. Who is that? Woodrow Wilson. Done up as a soldier for him. Amazing stuff, isn't it?
Yep, that is supposed to be Wilson.
Yes, it is. Oh, this is sincerely Woodrow Wilson spelled out with people too? The signature is people too?
No,
no. There it is, Scamp. Chillicothe, Ohio. Look at and notice he does this all over different places.
Yeah.
You know, one wonders if the Army didn't have better things to do with his troops than pose for all this stuff. But isn't it amazing?
That's cool. I didn't know that they.
I know, and here you take one photograph again, and look at all the fun we're having checking it out, right?
Right.
Oh, try the one down here. Look at there's the look at that. There is the first armored, I guess, division with all their artillery, first artillery, tanks and all their guys and everything else. Look at that. That is fabulous. Now, today the company does all kinds of pictures too, including mostly a lot of school pictures. Oh, first Field Artillery Brigade of the 1st Division, right?
Yep.
In Germany?
Germany, 1919.
My gosh. He was overseas in the Great War. Fabulous stuff, right?
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, if this falls, I know we're taking a lot of time with this.
It's okay. It's interesting.
No, this falls into the learn something new every day group, right?
Right.
You know, you go into antique malls and you go into antique shops and you see these things and you see the larger military pictures, the yard-long pictures. And I have a couple in my collection actually too. Not of these figure ones. You know, there was a time when these used to sell for $50 and $65. I should have bought them all. But the thing about it is that I have a couple in my collection. And I just love them to death because I think they're real statements of fact. And as I said, the company is still in business and just a fun type of thing. And by the way, in all fairness, now I'm trying to remember exactly where it is. The company turned over its photographic archives to a university, I think in San Antonio. All right. And so I don't know if how many of the negatives have survived or whatever, but a lot of the archives are there. And so now be careful, because one final note on this, and we'll bring this to an end, is that there are companies selling copies of these photos that have, and just be really, really, really careful when you're out there. But anyway, there you are. A look at the Goldbeck, Goldbeck. They're called panoramic photos, but as you found out, if you search panoramic photos, you get the big long ones. You don't get the fun picture ones.
Right. The designs from the high scale.
Yeah, and by the way, you ready for this one? Where did they? No, I have to figure this out. Where did they develop them and wash them? Well, I mean, you know, come on, you don't print a 60-some inch thing in a dark room, right?
Well, if you have a big enough dark room,
You do if you have big trees.
bathtub or a horse trough or something like that.
No, they have swimming pools.
Really?
Now, I don't know who would allow their swimming pool to be filled up with developing solution, but we won't go there.
Well, you've got to have the developer, and then you've got to have the wash, and then you've got to have the set, right?
Right.
Three-step
And a lot of these pictures, by the way, have faded over time, especially the early ones. The ones that, like the one we're looking at now, they've gone back to a sepia tone, and I don't think they were necessarily originally. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, what a neat thing, huh?
That's very cool.
Which means that we're done.
We used up our time.
Well, we did, and I don't mind doing this because there have been times before when we stayed on a single subject almost for the entire chat. Okay, but come on, gang. You know, I can talk about all this stuff forever, but we'd like to hear what you'd like us to talk about. And again, please send an email to community@worthpoint.com. Community@worthpoint.com. Share your thoughts with us. Raise questions for us, or like Steve did, send us some images and pictures that we can research and talk about, because we'd like to do that.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to try our best.
That's right.
To do this next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, I will not have the flu next Wednesday. If I do, I'm in big trouble.
Well, I don't know. You know, we took a little break during the holidays, but we are now back live again. What we're doing. That's a kind of dumb thing to say. We're live every time we do these things. I don't have a mechanical dummy yet. I can.
No, right.
Do this for me, right?
All right. Well, Harry, until next week.
Have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.